All right, chapter 17. Here we go. We are getting to the finish line. I am contemplating on doing another book because this has been really fun. I've enjoyed it and I'm getting some engagement from you guys, some messages and some questions. So I do believe that it's offering me some value in my own life. And if it can be of service to you or provide any value to you, then so be it. I am open to ideas on another book. I have several in mind, so we'll see. Anyways, let's begin. So this one is how to supply support. I am omitting the words the right way because I don't know, is there a right way? Or is there a wrong way? I think that's subjective and objective. So I'm going to omit that. How to supply support. And I think if we provide support from love, compassion, empathy, courage, unconditional love, it's going to look different anyways from every situation. So I am omitting the words the right way. That's a personal thing, and so anyways, I'll leave it at that. So balance, so balancing support without rescuing someone. What does that mean? Right. So balancing support, I just kind of said it too, is what's your come from, what's your energy, what's your spirit, what's your aura, whatever you want to call it. So what is the foundation? What is your come from? What is your agenda? Right. Really, if you're supporting someone, the only agenda would be unconditional love, right? Support. And what do those words mean to you? So balancing support without tipping over to rescuing. So rescuing would be coming from fear, worry, anxiety, panic, wanting to control something, wanting things to be a certain way. So that to me adds a lot of clarity. So when we come from support versus rescuing, what it is we're not saying I don't care, because a lot of people think if I don't rescue them, if I don't give them money, if I don't buy them a car, if I don't put them in rehab, or if I don't, do all these things or make them, if they don't change, that says that I don't care. That's not what it is. Like I said, there's an infinite number. That's why I would retitle this book as How to Supply Support. There's no one right way. It's very unique. Every situation is unique, and support is coming from a place of care. I think that those people that are enabling believe they're coming from a place of care, and certainly well-meaning, and they have good intentions. The thing is it's the come from, it's the energy, it's what's landing for that other person, and is that doing their homework for them, right? That's the big key and key part of it. So when you are coming from support, you're saying to them, and they receive it too. They receive that you're saying that I trust you, I believe in you, I think that you're capable, I think you're strong, I think that you have strengths, skills, talents, and I know you're going to navigate this even if it's bumpy. And I just got off a coaching call just now, a potential client. It's just a breakthrough session, if you will, or a consultation, whatever you want to call it. I just met with someone that's potentially thinking about coaching. And this is basically exactly this person's situation. They've been enabled for years. They're in their late 30s and they crave someone to believe in them. They keep getting other people's opinions. They keep getting other people's agendas. They keep getting told, you need to do this, you should do this, and you shouldn't do that. And they're getting so many people's opinions from their paradigm, from their perspective, from their life, from their knowledge and experience and what they believe that they should do. It's so confusing, and it's got them frozen. Analysis paralysis. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's right. I don't know what I should do. I don't know what's going to please everybody. And they really are wanting someone to listen to them with no bias, with no opinion, with no judgment. So support is being there and offering encouragement, encouraging them to learn, to grow, to evolve, to overcome, to face discomfort and get through it, to build grit, build tenacity, build resilience, to be able to build the skills and the know-how, and to have the evidence and proof that they overcame, right? Because when we're keeping score on what we're doing well, what we are accomplishing, how we're growing, how we're evolving, it keeps us focused on continuing to grow, to continue to evolve, to continue to become a better, stronger person. When we're focused on what everybody else wants us to do, we're really not even looking at our own windshield anymore. We got our head outside of the car looking at other people's cars. Like, they're not going to go anywhere. So supporting someone does not mean controlling them. It doesn't mean dictating them. It doesn't mean telling them what to do. It's holding space for them. It's showing them empathy. It's not getting overly involved in solving their problems for them or doing their homework or giving them suggestions or buying them a book. It really isn't. That's not support. When we lead with love, when we lead with compassion, when we lead with supportive energy, it's not leashing them, right? Grabbing a hold of their collar and yanking them. It's not suppressing them. It's really actually highlighting what their strengths are, telling them what their strengths are, telling them what you admire in them, highlighting what they're good at. You can care and support and love someone without carrying them. You can love someone unconditionally and deeply without editing them. You can love and support someone without fixing them or seeing them as broken or forcing them to do it your way. People learn most from their own steps, from their own journey. They learn without shortcuts, without saving them. When we rescue someone, it robs them of the learning journey. It robs them of the ability to build resistance. Growth absolutely requires being uncomfortable. Growth requires stretching. Growth requires feeling uncomfortable, being in discomfort. If we enable someone, we're swaddling them, we're bubble wrapping them. Support sounds like, I'm here with you. It's not, I'll fix it for you. I'll take care of this for you. I'll bail you out. Your genuine, authentic, being fully present and listening is more powerful than any solution out there. And it's listening, not to just the words, but what they mean. And in order to know what they mean, it's asking really curious questions and listening for how they are creating their own solution through their words, keeping them focused on their strengths, their talents, their skills, what they're really good at, what they're strong at, what you admire, what you appreciate, what you adore, and what you find fascinating that they're so good at. It shifts their brain from focusing on what they're not good at to what they are good at. Deeply listening is asking them really open-ended questions. And one could be, that's easy to remember, is, how would you like me to support you? Support can look like having training wheels on a bicycle, right? They're temporary and they're on there to help them balance, but they still have to pedal. They still have to steer. They still have to maybe lean. It's been a couple of years since I rode a bike. I rode a bike around COVID. I know that. But they have to pedal, they have to steer, they have to lean, they have to look, they have to be aware, they have to be cautious, they have to know avoid dangers. Snakes. I've seen 4 snakes this week. Four, count it, 4. Actually, today is day 1 of no snakes. So let's hope that that goes on for a very long time. But when they're riding the bike, they have to be able to, if you're supporting them, they have to take action. And that's ownership. That's taking ownership of their life. Rescuing someone is like being the tow truck, right? Getting in there and snatching their bicycle or their car and removing it out of the situation that it's in. And maybe, you plop them in your passenger seat. Like, you're not giving them the opportunity to figure it out. Everything is figure outable. So are you in your relationships riding the bike for them? Or are you riding a bike next to them? So where in your life is it muddy or confusing or gray between love with control? And what would happen if you let that go and just unconditionally love them and let them, if you will, going back to the book, let them figure it out. Let them come up with some ideas. Let them come up with some solutions. Let them have some agency and have some say in the direction of how to navigate out of whatever it is that they're involved in. So the difference between support and enabling, oftentimes I'll hear this from well-meaning, loving parents that contact me with their adult children, and they're like, fix them, Catherine. Well-meaning, loving parents, I get it. It's frightening. And we want nothing more than them to have a better life than we had, right? We want them to avoid all the pain and agony and suffering. And a lot of times what's running in the background or running underneath the surface is if I don't help them, they're going to fall apart. If I don't help them, they're going to be miserable. They're going to be broke. They're going to be jobless. They're going to be divorced. They're going to be whatever, fill in the blank, right? It's this worry and concern that things are going to go real bad for them. What that's enabling is that you have your own agenda, right? That you're worried about how you will feel and you're projecting that out onto them. Where if you're supportive, you're going to think underneath the surface, I will walk along beside you, or I'll ride a bike beside you. And I trust in your ability, and I'm going to cheer you on, and I'm going to be here. I'm going to be a bouncing board to reflect back what it is that you think is going to enable you to move forward without the training wheels, right? Let's leave the training wheels on, but I'm going to ride along beside you because I trust you and your decisions, and I believe in you. And if there's consequences, if there's a cost, if there's an expense, I know that you'll find a way to navigate that too. I believe in your ability to figure this out. It's figure outable. I don't know if that's a word. I know I've heard that somewhere. I forget who it was that said that, but I like that word. It's a mouthful. But when someone you know and you love and you deeply care about is struggling, here are some questions you can ask. Would you like my support, Or what would me supporting you look like? How can I support you? Can I be your sounding board? Can I offer you some space? Can I just listen without giving you my opinion? A lot of people really like that. Yes, please. Some people are afraid to tell you what's going on because they think that you are going to jump in and give your own opinion. And though you think it's coming from good, well-meaning intentions, and it is, sometimes your opinions and ideas and suggestions are from your frame, your life, your experience, your knowledge. And especially with my kids are, 20 something years younger than me, and things are different now. How I would do things is now versus back then. I mean, when I was 20, like, it's so different. Anyways, it's really about, also another alternative is this is an old one, but I love this one. And there might be some enabling in this one, so be careful with it. But another one, and I remember it by the 3 H's because it makes it easy. Do you want to be heard, hugged, or helped? Okay. And on the helped piece, it's very important to be sure that whatever that is, if they do choose that, and likely they won't, because I have actually asked my daughters this, do you want me to help you? And they're like, no, mom, when you get involved, things seem to go way differently than I want. I'm like, okay, which is true. I have gotten involved in things as they were still in my household. They might have been adults, but they were young adults, and I've gotten involved, and sometimes I could be a little bit dramatic. And they don't like that. They like to take the softer approach. But mom likes to rip the Band-Aid off. Let's deal with this now. So usually they say no to the helped. So you may relate to that or not. Please let me know if I'm not the only one. But it's about letting them guide you in what they need, letting them cultivate and create that idea. Whenever someone asks me, can you help me brainstorm? I usually like to come up with wild, off the wall ideas. I do that sometimes in coaching. It's actually been a while. I've kind of actually forgot about that. Whenever a client's like, I don't know what to do, like, let's brainstorm. What I'll do is I'll come up with an idea, and you're going to come up with an idea. And what I'll say is, I think you should go skydiving. And what you're going to say is, what I like about that idea is that sounds thrilling. And right, thrilling, you enter your own word there, but it's a note, and the word phrase is specific to keeping the ball rolling. It's not disqualifying my idea of skydiving. It's seeing something positive in it, and then saying the word and. What that sparks in me is applying for a job tomorrow. Right. So maybe the situation is they want to, I don't know, get out of their comfort zone. And I say skydiving. Yeah. I usually like really wild ideas and really force them into a creative mind. The right side of the brain is very creative and innovative. And when it's almost like a validation of my idea, and then they get an idea and I listen to their idea and I try to spin off of it, but not always does my brain come up with something that's similar. Sometimes I just stay in the wild, crazy ideas. I try not to be too obnoxious, but I don't want to be too overly dramatic, but I like to, and it's shocking what people come up with. They never take my idea, just so you know, which is great. Because again, I'm teaching them how to access their creative mind. And a lot of that is through humor or fun or play, if you will. Somebody used that today in a coaching session, is that they want to play. And I was like, I love that word. That's fun. That lands for me. And I love how you used it in the context you used it. So, but when we get people into the spirit of creativity, they see that there's an infinite number of options. Okay. So I love that space. And it's very forward focused. It's momentum. It's fun. It's play, right? We adults need to play more. Yeah. All right. So, giving financial support, right? She talks about that in this chapter about giving money. I love that she talked about clear conditions. For me, I call that an agreement. I believe that when in really any, especially when there's money involved or an exchange of things that have value, I believe that a legitimate agreement needs to be created. Now, I'm not talking about go to a lawyer and draft up a document like that. I mean, big purchases, obviously, but it could be just on a napkin. It could be on a sticky note. It could be on something where you know, spit in your hand and shake. I'm just kidding. It needs to be terms. And if things go bad or sideways or change, that you guys can come back together and recreate a new agreement, something, right? Or there's consequences, or there's an expense, or there's a recourse, right? It's spelled out, and still things can go sideways with an agreement. But I love that she talks about conditions. I'm a big proponent of agreements. We can't have expectations in our head, because we human beings, for the majority, I'm very general. This is a very big, gross generalization, but we don't communicate well. A lot of times we have assumptions in our head, and we speculate, and we assume, and we have high hopes and high expectations, and not everybody can deliver. So put it on writing, get it on writing. I do agree that massive resentment occurs to the person that does give the financial support if there's not conditions or agreements. And in a conditions and agreements are not bulletproof to save you from having resentment. I have coached so many people over the last almost 8 years now on giving something of financial value, or even literally money, where the relationships are severed, and not in a pretty way. And yeah, things can go really bad really quickly. So I don't know. I don't want to say don't, but it would have to be, yeah, very clear and in writing. Anyways, I do want to dive into unconditional love. Here's what I think. Unconditional love doesn't mean financial support. It just doesn't. And again, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying a lot of people confuse that. I have to. I know of a situation right now where the father of adult kids keeps giving money, keeps giving money, keeps giving money, and behind closed doors is angry and frustrated that the kids have very little involvement with him. This is a couple that I know. And then the mom, they're divorced, and the mom doesn't give them anything of financial at all, and has a very close relationship with their adult children, incredibly close. And I think, and I don't know, but I think based on, and again, I'm getting this hearsay, third, fourth, fifth person, if you will, that there's an expectation that's not spelled out, or an agreement with the monies that are keep giving, that financial giving, and it's not spelled out or not fully explained. And yeah, so I think what I see is it's just very complicated. I think that with adult children, what they need more than anything is someone that just listens. And that's what I'm going into on this unconditional love. I think unconditional love is an energy, a spirit, a way of being, because we are human beings. And truly, whenever I ask people, you know, what's going to matter most at the end of your life, right? I have a slightly different variation that I usually ask, but to the point. Most people say that I am connected with my family, and I'm connected with my friends. I have meaningful relationships, and I believe that's unconditional love, right? Nobody ever has told me like, oh, you know, I hope that all my friends and family that loan me money forgive me. No. So unconditional love is, I see you, I love you, I deeply care about you, I accept you for who you are, I believe that you matter, I think that you are capable, I believe that you're enough, I believe that you're strong, and I care about you no matter what. That to me is unconditional love. And that's what people crave. Like I said, I had a new potential client today, and that's what they want. All they're getting right now is a lot of pressure from loving, well-meaning parents and family and friends, but a lot of pressure. And it's really sad when I talk to people that are just simply wanting to be unconditionally loved. And again, financial support is a resource-based decision. And when it's given without a written agreement, it can really be confusing for both parties. It can create a dependency. It could create and fuel a lot of resentment for the giver. And it gets complicated, it gets messy, it gets convoluted. Oh, it's a lot. And interestingly enough, I have talked to both sides of these type of situations, and the stories are different. You wouldn't even know it was the same family. You would not have a clue. It would not. It does. The stories don't line up. Glad I wasn't in law enforcement. I was in insurance, and luckily I only talked to my client. I didn't talk to both sides, but I could only imagine what it's like talking to both sides of a claim where both of them are blaming one another. I can't imagine. That's got to be really messy. But Mel says lending money without an agreement or conditions or having set conditions is enabling. With conditions, right, with an agreement, she labels it as supportive. So it'd be like, I will pay for your school tuition as long as you show me that you have a 3.0. And she gave a whole bunch of examples, and I thought they were really good. But yeah, it's really about having, really some guidelines, like I'll continue to support you if you do these things. And maybe, and I think a couple of them, it was like there were checkpoints or whatever, or like this one, 3.0. So how do you know that they have a 3.0? They're an adult now. You can't just call their principal and see, but I'm sure there's parameters and things. And again, that's why it's so imperative to have it in writing. And what I believe is if they refuse whatever offer you're putting out on the table, it's a choice to walk away and say no. Right. And there will be a cost, there will be an expense to that. And as an adult, you've got to take that burden. And I'm sure, she talks about a lot of extreme things in this chapter. I believe that there's probably a cost or an expense either way, right? Whenever someone's back is up against the wall with a lot of the scenarios that she offered in this chapter. So, yeah. Love does not require a loan, not a bank. Love does require some sort of leadership and strength, right? So when you come from love, when you come from strength, when you come from courage, when you come from believing in them, when you come from unconditionally caring for them and truly deeply seeing what their strengths are and pointing that out and what you admire and appreciate in them, I really do believe that they will do their best to prove to you that they are capable. I really do believe that. I have seen that over and over again in my clients and my own adult children. But it does take leadership. It does take modeling strength. It does take the ability to hold space for them to be able to be sloppy and say the hard things. Hold space for them and allow them to say it all and hold them tight and without, a lot of times without words. When you constantly bail someone out, it can really undermine their confidence, their self-esteem, their self-confidence. It really blocks them from learning, growing, evolving, and taking responsibility for their life, right? If they keep giving you ownership and responsibility for their life, when are they going to take that over? If you end up being the fallback plan, the plan B, if you end up being their financial backer, their bank, you're really an anchor. You're not giving them what's the orange thing? You're not a lifeguard. You're not giving them the life ring. I couldn't even think of it. I love metaphors, and here I am forgetting. But yeah, so if you're their backup plan, if you're their saver, you're their anchor. If you are supportive, you're giving them the buoy. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure. Life ring. Anyways, either way, you know what I'm talking about. So a question for you to answer in the comments below is, in your relationship that comes to mind throughout this chapter dialogue that I'm kind of going through, this review, is, am I helping because it aligns with my values, or because I'm afraid of what they will feel if I don't? And why that question is worded that way is, if you really understand what your values are, like 5 of your top values, 5 different values, and pertaining to this relationship, is when you are really truly solid in what that means, in a way that you are a leader, that you are a loving parent, we'll assume in this situation, you'll know those are your guides, right? That's your compass, that's your map, that's your strength, that's your superpower. And that's, again, having this safe space for them to come and share with you what challenges or heartache they're dealing with. If you have really strong values that support that, then you'll know what to do. You'll know what to say. I truly believe that in my heart. And I think a lot of people don't really spend a lot of time at figuring out what their values are. And these can change and evolve throughout your life. They're not set in stone. A lot of people think that, oh, that's a tough decision. No, it's not. It's really easy. But when you have your values and your strengths and your virtues and your paradigms and what matters most to you in your life, and you really have those nailed down, you know where to make your decisions from. But if you are making decisions from being afraid of what they will think and what they will believe about you, that's again coming from fear. That's coming from an agenda. That's coming from bubble wrapping them and being afraid of what they think of you. That's a me. That's ego driving the show. And that's not sustainable. And it sets you up for such heartache and suffering down the road. Like, if you're not already, if you're operating out of fear, you're already in mental, emotional suffering, and it's incredibly hard on relationships. So support does not mean solving their problems. Support doesn't mean saving them from their life issues. Support means seeing them without looking through your own life lens, right? Take off your glasses and stand beside them and reassure them that they are okay. Reassure them that they will be okay. Reassure them that they are safe. Most people just want that in every relationship. It doesn't matter what the relationship is. They want to feel safe. They want to feel heard. They want to feel seen. They want to feel important. You can offer that. Now, I'm not saying that you can manage their feelings, but what I do believe is when we operate from those words, right, whatever they mean to you, when you give that, they can reciprocate that. Maybe not initially, and no expectations there. But what I do know is when we operate from fear, they then feel fearful. They feel fearful of disappointing you. They feel fearful of what's going to happen. They feel fearful of being abandoned. So it's simple, it's small, it makes a huge impact on our relationships. Mel talks about in this chapter, it's actually a small chapter. So I don't even know if I'm going to fill up an hour, which is great. Mel talks about her husband's failing business again in this chapter. And I think there's such knowledge and wealth of learnings through that very, very difficult time for her, and him and her husband and her kids, right? So, but I love this story about the brother, Mel's husband's, I think his name's Chris. And his brother says, I'm sorry if me not giving you this money is the reason why your business fails and you go bankrupt, but I will not bail you out. You have to figure this out yourself. Whew. That gave me chills. What would have happened if you would have given him money, right? What would have happened if you would have given him his life savings and things ended up crashing and burning anyways, maybe another 2 or 3 or 4 months later, right? I don't know what the profit and loss was or any of that, but things would have been way, way, way worse. He was on a path of self-destruction, as Mel said at the same time. So it wasn't a safe investment for his brother. And lo and behold, he hit rock bottom right after that, right? And all his brother would have done is prolonged the inevitable. And then the brother would have went down and it would have been a family, could have been a family, big, big problem. Dr. Waldinger, you have to let people learn from their life. Absolutely. You have to let people learn from their errors, from their missteps, from their mistakes. I believe failure is gold. I think there's so much to learn from when we make mistakes. And I'm talking really small to really big, even on the daily. Like, what today did I do that I would do differently knowing what I know now, right? Reel back the day all the way to the morning. And what went well? What did I do really well? And let's turn up the volume on that. I believe pain and discomfort are critical in life. When we build the skill to be agile and adapt and modify and pivot, shift, that's just like, I don't watch the news. I don't have any involvement in anything out there in the world, and I'm thankful for it, but I hear little things and I'm like, oh, it seems like there's a lot going on out there. And I'm just like, just up here on this mountain, just doing my thing and really helping and serving people, because I feel like we need more of me out there. But I do believe that I've been through some really crazy stuff, and I haven't shared a lot on these videos, but I mean, I've been what I call my rock bottom too. And I look back on it and I don't remember it being painful. I wouldn't use that word. The word that comes up for me is freedom. Like, I really felt free. And it was by choice. It was a very big decision that I had to make 6 months before that. And it was tough, but it really was like, again, the ground zero. There's only up from here. Like, it's really awesome. Like, the world was right in front of me where it hadn't been before. I was very closed off and very limited. So I had my freedom. And so through that, I grew the ability internally to know that I can overcome. And that's not something that you can get at a supplement store. That's not something I can give my clients in a pill or a potion or a lotion or a wrap or a patch. Or nowadays it's injections, right? Everybody, I swear, is out here injecting themselves with stuff. That's not something that your parents can give you. Taking responsibility and ownership of your life is where you're going to really soar in your life. Really taking ownership and responsibility for every choice that you make. Taking ownership and responsibility for how you think, what you believe in, what's important to you, what you value, what you, how you take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically. All of that is vital. Really establishing a healthy relationship to your body, who you are, your identity, that relationship you have to life, being grateful and appreciative for every day, being able to create a life that you don't need an alarm for. That is what I have, and that's what I teach my clients. It's taking ownership and responsibility for your life. It's one decision at a time. Something that I do believe in is no one else is in charge of how you show up. No one is in charge of what you believe. No one is in charge of what you choose to do next but you. And when you really understand how your life is and your reality is created, and you're able to really, what I like to say is train your brain to work for you. I think that's vital to understand how your brain works, how your mind works, how your thoughts work, how your feelings work, and how your decision making works. Once you understand all 5 of those, life becomes easy. Because you can train your brain to work for you. You can create a reality and a life that you love. You have the power, and it's not going to come from outside of you. It's taking that mental, emotional, and physical agency and ownership and leadership in your life. It's stopping outsourcing your happiness or your sadness. It's stopping blaming and complaining and taking ownership of your successes and your failures. Failure is a positive word. It's taking ownership of your power. Learning how to be able to articulate and describe how you want to feel, being able to see it, envision it, experience it, and do it. You know, ownership is choosing how to respond to life, right? No amount of coaching is going to stop the bills coming in. No amount of coaching is going to stop tragedy or death or injury or illness in your life. It's learning how to respond to life when you're not able to choose how everything unfolds, right? I work with a lot of clients in the past that come to me and wanting to bend reality and wanting things to be a certain way. I want my life to be like this, unfold like this, like Barbie and Ken, like the perfect world. I'm sorry. You can influence it. You can have a heck of a lot of influence on it. Well, let's take this one step at a time. Ownership is feeling pain, feeling discomfort, feeling unfamiliarity, and not blaming somebody else for it. It's taking responsibility for it and taking action. No one's managing you. No one's rescuing you. No one's saving you. When you're taking ownership and responsibility for your life, you're leading yourself, even when things are hard, even when things are rough, even when things are difficult. That's emotional maturity. It's having choice and seeing that you have choice, seeing that you have an infinite number of choice in every moment of every day. I think Mel says in her chapter towards the end that there's an infinite number of solutions to any situation or circumstance. And I do believe that. That's why at the beginning I took out the right way, because not necessary. We don't need to label it. But we're not going to see the infinite number of solutions when we're operating in the left side of our brain, when we're operating from scarcity, when we're operating from fear, from anxiety, worry. When we don't understand how our brain and mind and thoughts and feelings and consciousness work, we can't access a clear mind or a peaceful mind or access clarity from fear. We can't. Our digestion shuts down, our body shuts down, and we just get tunnel vision. Everything gets cloudy, everything gets very muddy and difficult. It feels like we have concrete on our feet. It feels like we're in quicksand. There is an infinite number of ways to offer support to people that you care about and love. I think the biggest one is listening without interrupting, listening without injecting your stories, and listening without injecting your solutions, your ideas, or what you think should do. It's not about you. Hold space for them. Ask thoughtful questions to help open up possibilities. Refrain from giving answers. Say, you know what? I want to hear all your ideas before I even offer mine. Being supportive is sending them a kind message, sending them a letter, sending them a text, sending them an email, instant message. I don't know. There's so many tools and gadgets and apps and all the things out there. I don't know. Like, I've limited my number down very low. But you can send them a meme. You can just put a red bubble on their phone. That's what I like to call it. I call my daughters, I'm like, I'm just putting a red bubble on their phone. That's no expectation, no agenda, nothing is needed or wanted. I just put a bubble on their phone. And what they do with it, what they think about it, is on them. And if you have an iPhone, you know what I mean. If you don't, you don't. I have all my notifications disabled, so I don't even get red bubbles. So, but it's just a metaphor. Another way is respecting someone as they process. Everyone's going to process their solutions at their own pace, at their own speed, from their grounding, from their experience, from their knowledge. So respect them if they're taking time. Also, believing in someone when you sense that they doubt themselves is unconditional love. It really is. Because likely you see a lot in them that they don't see in themselves. And the only way you see what you see in them is because you possess that. So everyone looks at them differently, whoever this is. It's in your mind. Somebody's in your mind. Everyone sees different strengths in this person. So a lot of times people don't tell their friends or family, their loved ones, what they see, what strengths they see in them, because they just assume that they know. Well, a lot of people don't know. You'd be surprised if you just say, you know what I appreciate about you is that you show up on time. Or what I appreciate about you is you always have a happy spirit about you. What I appreciate about you, fill in the blank. Just say it to one person. See how it lights them up. I love Mel's story about giving birth. She goes back to that. I think she talks about that a couple times in this book, I swear. All good, right? Same with the restaurant thing. I love stories. Even if I can't relate to them at all, I love stories. But I love the example that how everyone that cared about her came and did different things, you know, after she had the baby, and she had a lot of forget the post baby depression. I forget what that's called. She, you know, was really and medical issues and so forth like that. I mean, it was probably one of the lowest points in her life, if not the lowest. But I love how the people that love her unconditionally came from all around the world practically, and they did different things, all inexpensive things, all things that supported her, tended to her in their own unique way. And because, again, I think that when people are, especially, I assume, I don't know 100% because I don't know Mel personally, but I assume that she's very much I don't want to call her a people pleaser, but she is probably a very caring person, a very giving person. That's my perception. And those individuals with that personality type or that tendency have a hard time asking for help because they don't want to be a burden. They don't want to be a nuisance. They don't want to, yeah, you get the idea. So a lot of times they don't know how to ask for help. And when you are at a low point, for whatever reason, postpartum, that's the word. You don't know how to ask. You don't know, like your brain is just sand. Like it's so hard to say. So I love that she got emotional on the audiobook. I don't, if you've listened to the audiobook, it's very, I am going to write a book and I want to be able to share stories and share that emotion like she did. Like that was very raw, vulnerable, and authentic. So if you haven't listened to the audiobook, and you want to, this is my suggestion to listen to it. It is very beautifully done. And I think she actually, some chapters I noticed when I'm going back through the book and highlighting and stuff, she kind of jumbles things up a little bit differently in the audiobook. And then she adds a little bit too, add a little bit of Mel flair, which, I mean, I know she wrote the book, but I'm sure as she was reading, she kind of just added impromptu, if you want to put it that way. So it's good. I really like it. And that again is, I admire her and I want to do that. There's other authors too that have done the same thing. And I absolutely love that. I love that when they go off the page and add extra, that's lovely. Anyway, she did a little bit there. But she gave a number of ideas and examples that are inexpensive to care and support for people that are in need. Making it easier for them to get their feet back underneath them and step back into life slowly without pushing, without pulling, without manipulating or any of that, or without any wanting it to be reciprocated in any kind of way. It's just very kind and very loving. So I love that story. That was really good. I also do believe, like what she talked about, is our environment plays a role in how and it impacts you. A big part of my coaching is really understanding, again, how nothing outside of you can make you feel a certain way. So this kind of implies the opposite. What I will add to it is our environment and the people that we hang out with can influence us in a kind of like a hypnotic way, right? We can continue to get the message of this behavior or this way of talking about people or being negative or whatever. It can become normalized and we can start to mimic that and be the same. So that, I think, is the danger in that. I think that also what I've noticed a lot with coaching clients over the last many years is a cluttered mind, right? Having a big to-do list and a lot of wants and desires and pressures and things to do and unfinished things to do. What I like to call open tabs on your computer. It creates a lot of overwhelm. It creates a lot of, overwhelm really it summarizes it up very well. So I do think that a lot of times working with clients, when I have a 3-month period, when I work with clients and I work real deep with them, it's really about pruning the hedges. It's really about cutting out a lot of the mental clutter, going from a busy mind to a clear mind, and clearing up their environment, right? If there's projects that are unfinished and a lot of to-dos and stuff like that, it's like, what can we do to clean up your environment and clean up your responsibilities? Maybe it's starting a brand new email, right? I know that's scary, but that might be needed, or a brand new computer, or remove yourself from a bunch of obligations that you've somehow volunteered for over the years. Maybe it's getting rid of excess books or courses or programs or to-dos or pressures to do all these things, all these unfinished tasks or all these unattainable goals, these lists of things to do. A lot of times we've got to control, delete, and start over and simplify things. I really do believe that that's when we have such busyness going on in our real world and our mental, emotional world, it's a big bummer. And prevents us from moving forward. It prevents us from solution finding. It prevents us from solving things. And if someone you care about and love has all those tabs open and all those, that's not your job to identify that. But there are loving ways and supportive ways to bring light to those things. And oftentimes it takes somebody like me, a coach, right? Because well-meaning, loving people could say, wow, it seems like you have a lot on your plate, a lot of to-dos. Is there something you can take off of it? They may not receive that well. They may receive it as you telling them to do something and demanding and pressure, and you should do this. But when it comes from somebody like me, that's not a family member, not a friend, a non-biased party, an individual that they paid for to show them their blind spot, show the barrier, show the challenge, and then help them navigate through that, they're more receptive. Anyways, whenever a mom that I know has a baby, one of the things that I always do, because I've had 2 children, and Mel shared what she does, and I thought that was, I think it was her, maybe it was somebody else, that gives plates and forks and plastic stuff, a bunch of plasticware and all that stuff. I think that's a great idea too. And what I will add to that is I usually buy something for the mom. I know it's customary, and society usually buys all the diapers and all the clothes and all the baby toys and all the things. And I really make an attempt to buy something for the mom, because for 9 months or less, they've been doted over, hopefully, and loved on and cherished and taken really good care of. And then boom, that baby comes and who are you? I really feel like it's special to give the mom something that is thoughtful and caring to them. But anyways, I thought I would add that in today. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed chapter 17. I did. And I will see you guys next week. Talk to you then. Bye.